So appreciate you guys all for being here. I would love to introduce Angela, who is our speaker today. She's actually from Trusted Housesitters, which is one of the most trusted house sitting sites out there. And this is Angela's second presentation with us. We loved having her. She was on, was it a little over a year ago? And we had so many people like literally change the way they travel after that presentation and start traveling in a house and pet sitting way that got them, like I said before, on the road and doing really cool, unique things all over their country and all over the world. So I'm excited to have Angela back, and I will pass it over to her. I'm actually working the slides, so she'll be like telling me next slide, next slide. So don't worry about that. But go ahead, Angela, take it away.
Wow. Oh, thanks, Erica. That's a brilliant introduction. And I'm looking at the chat and people from all over. Yeah, hi, I'm Angela, and I'm actually talking to you from the west coast of Scotland, where we've actually got some sunshine, and it's a lovely day. So it's the evening, getting into the evening, but welcome everybody. So let's start talking about house sitting the pet people way. Just a bit about me. I've been with Trusted Housesitters now since the very beginning. We started in 2010. And so I've been pet sitting as well for all of those years. And I started sitting when I lost my own dog. She was my best friend and companion for 14 years around the world. And I lost her, heartbroken, as we all are when we go through that loss. How could I get that joy back in my life and also do what I'd love to do, which is travel as well? So pet sitting, and that's when Trusted Housesitters came in. I have three passions, like many of us: pets, people, and places. And my lifestyle actually satisfies all of those. So that's just a little bit about me. Next slide, please, Erica. So house sitting, I mean, what is it? It is a mutual beneficial exchange for accommodation in a place that you might want to go to and may never have thought of going. Pets are the key, they're the focus, what comes first. So pet lovers, and you're meeting people. You can apply for sits, you can join as a solo sitter, as a family, as a couple. There are no limitations. And places, the places you can go to are only, it's only your imagination that stops you from going to them. And any place, and many places around the world. Trusted Housesitters is in 130 countries around the world. And we are just connecting with people, like-minded pet lovers. Next slide, please, Erica. So, and I know the Nomadic Network is many remote workers, and that pet sitting and house sitting really lends itself to that. It's ideal for digital nomads. I'm one of them. I as long as I've got an internet connection, I can work anywhere in the world. And there are so many benefits from it. You don't feel under pressure of working while trying to keep up with people in different types of accommodation. You can live a relatively normal life and sightsee and experience, I mean, you still can get those experiences while you're looking after the pets and the homes. And let's face it, all of us need that internet connection. And if you are in a home away from home, you don't have to find a Starbucks and make sure you've got a table that you can actually get connected. You don't have to go anywhere, and you have unlimited connections and unlimited internet. And through that comes entertainment as well, but we'll get on with that. And you can save lots of money because you actually live your normal life. You're not in restaurants and cafes all the time. You are in a home away from home. Next slide, please, Erica. So what house sitting is, and I love this image, that is Ash and Lily. That's from a sit they did in Costa Rica. And who couldn't fall in love with Lily? So what is house sitting? And it's perfect for pet lovers because With Trusted House Sitters, 99% of our pet parents and owners who come to the site are looking for pet care. We get the occasional home without pets. You could have plants in a garden to look after, but generally they're coming because they want the best pet care option for their furry family members. It's a home away from home. You're not going into a hostel. You're not going into an impersonal hotel room. You actually are walking into somebody else's home. It never ceases to amaze me that when I go and do sits, and I still sit, and I sit, I've done over 200 so far. Never ceases to amaze me that I go into a home and then somebody will just give me their keys and walk away. We've built up a relationship before that happens. Obviously, I haven't just walked in off the street and they've given me the key. But it never, ever ceases to amaze me. That trust is so unique and so very special. It is a mutually beneficial travel exchange. So you are going to somewhere and you're getting accommodation, you're getting all of those things that you need to be in that location and to live your life, whether that's remote working or whether that's, just going there because you want a change. And pet parents get peace of mind and they get the best pet care option for their family members because we care for many, many rescue pets. And it's the only way that you can actually be sure that they're cared for in the way they need to be cared for. Sometimes it's luxurious. Ash there has his own swimming pool and his golden retriever, and sometimes not. I mean, I've stayed in everything from a loft to a country sort of spread. And that's the beauty of it because it fits in with whatever it is you're looking for. There's something for everybody. The other thing is it is a path to meaningful connections. That's a bit of a mouthful, but actually it's true. I've made so many friends through pet sitting and house sitting, lifelong friends, and I would never, ever have met them otherwise. And it was the animals that brought us together. So you're already on a like-minded people journey. You've already got something in common. And slow travel, and when we're remote and we're working and we choose, and that's what people are looking for. They're looking for a way to spend time and to actually absorb the communities where they go. And it is unique. Every single one is different. Next slide, please, Erica. And so we come to the obvious question on that side, and another side of the coin. What isn't it? It's not for if you're not a pet person, this is not for you. It's also not a free vacation. If you think that's what it is, it isn't. If you're looking for a cheap and free vacation, don't come to house sitting or pet sitting. Go book a cruise, get your backpack, and go off somewhere. It's also not accommodation solution. So if you decide that you want to travel and you want to go and visit another country and be in a different city and think, oh, I've heard about this thing about house sitting, or my apartment is getting so expensive for me and I can't stay in it, I'm going to do house sitting. There are those sitters who actually go from sit to sit, but it isn't that accommodation solution because the pets and the home come first. Neither is it a hotel or a resort. Don't imagine that you're going to somebody's home and you're going to treat it as such, and you're going to have a party and you're going to have all your friends over. That's not going to happen. And if it does, you won't be a member of Trusted House Sitters very long. It's also something to bear in mind too, that while there's so many sits going on and there's so many sitters and they're doing this full time, nothing is guaranteed. Life happens. We know that 2 years ago, or however long it was, something happened called a pandemic. We didn't need a plan B for that. We needed a whole alphabet plan for that. And it went on for 2 years. So nothing about this is guaranteed. You could have a sit that you're going to next month. Something happens and it cancels. So always have a plan B. And the other thing I would say is you really should have enough financial security to last you at least a couple of months. You need to be able to support yourself. Don't think that because you're saving money on accommodation and this is cost effective, that hey ho, I can take off with $100 in my pocket or $1,000. You can't. You need to be able to have a life and look after yourself. Next slide, please, Erica. So what are the benefits? There are many. We'll just run through these, and I'm sure you can come up with some of your own. The main one for so many of us is that pet companionship, because it's a mental and physical well-being. And when you think of those pets and you think of working remotely, if I'm at home and I'm working from home as a remote worker, my commute is down the stairs, straight into my office and in front of my device. I don't do anything else. And I'll stay in front of that device probably from 7, 8 o'clock in the morning through sometimes till 10 o'clock at night, because that's me. Not that I'm forced to, but that's me. So when you're house sitting and when I'm sitting, especially if I've got a dog, what's the first thing I have to do in the morning? I have to take the dog for a walk. Otherwise, you know, I've got to go out and at lunchtime, and then they're around, and then you leave your devices. So that work-life balance is good for your mental and physical well-being. Obviously, it's cost saving. We've gone over that. It reduces accommodation costs, and also the benefit and the joy of being in somebody else's home. You're stepping into their lives, but you've got this home. You can cook for yourself. You can do your own laundry. If it's pouring with rain, you can choose not to go out, or if you like the rain, you go out. But you can live your life the way you would at home. So all of those things that you are used to at home actually don't change. And it's a lifestyle. Pet and house sitting is a lifestyle to choose to suit your lifestyle. It fits in with your own travel plans, and you don't need to travel hundreds of miles to actually enjoy it. And you don't need to be doing it all the time either. You know, if you choose to only sit twice a year, 3 times a year, or whatever, that's the beauty of this lifestyle. It's not everybody that does it, you know, full time. The other benefit too is that if you're in a location, you've gone to do a 2-week sit, you love it, and you haven't found that you've had all the time in the world to do all of the things you want to, you will be able to explore. But perhaps you want to stay and you want to sit and stay. You can extend the time that you're in that location and look at what you can do. And while you're there on the house sit, use the internet, do your research, and book yourself a couple of weeks or a couple of days or whatever to go and do those things that you wanted to do. And hey, you found a new place. You may want to go back next time and do the sit all over again. Next slide, please, Erica. So with every benefit and with every lifestyle, there come challenges as well. And this has its challenges, and how you approach them and how they, you know, how you find a solution is really very, very personal. One of the things that can get tiring and it can get challenging is being in perpetual motion. You know, if you're traveling all the time, and let's face it, you know, travel, depending on where you're going, what you're doing, and how you're traveling, can sometimes be really, really stressful. And I think today, post-pandemic, that's got even more challenging. And so, you know, to constantly be traveling can really become quite tiring. And so that's one of the challenges. You're also got to be a good planner and a good organizer. And if you're not, then you could find yourself, you know, the feet are going like crazy under the water and you're trying to keep it all together, but you need to be able to plan. The other thing with pet and house sitting, and when you come to it, first of all, and for those of you on this meeting that have already done it, you will know this, that when you first come to it and you go onto the website and you go onto the platforms, you see all these wonderful locations and all these amazing properties and exotic locations. You go, oh, that's where I want to go. Ooh, bring it back, because that's not how it starts. It starts off that, you know, you have to manage your own expectations. If you believe you're going to fly before you've actually walked the walk, then you need to sort of just come back, because eventually you will be able to do that. But just manage those expectations. The other thing that some people find incredibly difficult, and I know this has happened to one of my relatives actually, who decided that pet and house sitting was going to be for him. is living and relaxing in somebody else's space, because it's not always as easy as you think it is. You walk into somebody's home, and if you're somebody that overthinks or over worries something, you know, you could walk in and a scratch that you saw on a sink that you think you may have done was probably there a year before, but you don't know. Or you go to water the plant and a bloom drops off and you think you've killed the plant. So you have to be somebody who can, you know, absorb all these things and be at peace and be restful in somebody else's home. And lastly, you're not a tourist. You have responsibilities. You take on those commitment and those responsibilities to actually to meet pets' needs and to fulfill the pet parents' expectations. And it's the same for pet parents as well. You know, they are, you know, they're fulfilling our expectations too. Next slide, please, Erica. So what are some of the qualities of a 5-star house sitter? So there's Julie and Jonathan, and they've been sitting now for almost 5 years. They're currently in New Zealand, having a whale of a time because they took a break as well. If you go to our Facebook page, you'll see a video that they made of one of the tours. This is what we're saying. You can go to a place and you can take that time to do, you know, you can combine the two. So you do have to be experienced with the pets that you're caring for. If you've never had a pet in your life, you actually need to get some of that experience. And one of the ways, there's several ways that you can do that, but you do need to be experienced and informed, because you're going to have total responsibility for cats, dogs, chickens, horses, pigs, you know, we do all animals, not just dogs and cats. You need to be able to communicate with people, but you also have to like people. If you don't like people and you're not a good communicator, you could find yourself with challenges. It goes without saying that you have to be trustworthy. You are being, you know, given the responsibility of somebody's 2 most precious possessions. That's their homes and their pets. The only other one I know of are children, and we don't do those. We just do we do pets only, no children. And so you do have to be trustworthy. Practical, absolutely. Pet and house sitting is not rocket science, but you do have to have a level of practicality that if something happens, and I'm not talking about major, but if something happens, you can actually take care of that without having to get on the phone to somebody. But you know what? There's always Google. You can actually find out how to do anything on Google. And you have to be somebody who takes pride in where they live and how they live and the space they live in. And you know, keep homes clean and tidy, and always, you know, go above and beyond, because the great thing is when you make that connection and relationships with the pet parents and they ask you back time and time again. I have a sit in London that I have been doing. It's in Barnes in Southwest London, beautiful home, lovely owners, and I've been doing it now for 9 years. Teasel the cat was a kitten when I first went there. She's 10 this year. And we go back every year. And the reason is we built this relationship up with the owners. But it's a brilliant sit. It's lovely. It's like 20 minutes from the centre of London. And I live in rural Scotland, where I can't even get a cup of coffee unless I drive 50 minutes in a car. So being somewhere where you can actually, you know, enjoy the things that you can't enjoy any other time of the year. And of course, it's great to be in the city. Next slide, please, Karen. Karen? I just saw Karen on there, and I'm sorry, Erica, I just saw Karen. So how does all this work? Okay, so you decide you want to be sitting a pet sitter. So you come to Trusted House Sitters. And one of the things you're going to do is create a profile, which is really your bio. It's your CV. It's the same as you would do when you were applying for a job, but it's you, it's your story. And when you create that profile, you know, you need to think about it from the pet parent's point of view and from what they are looking for. So you need to have, you can go onto the website and you can browse other sitters' profiles. You need to craft a great headline. You know, when you look at the internet or you look at media or you look at anything, what grabs your attention and brings you in to actually read? It's that first strap line. So think of it, write 5 down and go to your friends. Which one of these do you think is the best? They may not choose the best, you may know the best, but anyway, start there. Photographs, a picture says 1,000 words, and we absolutely know it's true. So those photographs, and a little inside sort of scoop here is we survey our pet parents all the time as to what it is they're looking for in profiles and what they're looking for and what attracts them. They would like to see the first image they see is their sitters with a pet, because that's what they're looking for. So what we advise is that first image on your profile, you know, make it one with a pet. The other thing too is references. When you get into with trusted house sitters, you'll start getting reviews, but also add references. That's somebody else saying that, you know, how good you are and that you're trustworthy. Skills, you know, we're looking for those practical skills. Are you great with a garden? Do you love gardening? Have you volunteered? Do you love, you know, do you have languages? And just think about this, you know, applying for a job. You're not, we know, but it's all really relevant. And as I said before, just think of it from a pet parent's point of view, put their hat on and think, what is it that I would want to know? And also, you know, think about a dating agency, right? Have you know, if you joined one, would you actually want to get to know somebody that only showed you one photograph and said nothing more about them? I think the answer would be no. It's exactly the same. And so, you know, it's the pet parent needs to read this and think, I want to know more about this person. Next slide, please, Erica. And so getting started, start local. Where and when possible, start local. And the reason for that is you're on the spot, you see a listing, you see that would be really, really good, and you can meet the pet parents ahead of time. You could even go around there. I took a sit that I went there 3 times before I actually did the sit, because the little dog was a rescue and she'd come from a puppy mill and she was really, really nervous. And this was when I was living in Vancouver, and I went round 3 times. We walked the area. I stayed with Stella. And so that I built up that trust and that relationship with the pet parent. I knew Vancouver, and you know, it was an advantage to be in an area that you actually knew. Some pet parents will ask you, well, why would you want to sit locally? Why would you not want to go somewhere else? What's the interest? To me, I say it's for the pets, because I believe that, you know, pet love and pet company is the same 5 miles away or 500 miles away. And I can have a new experience, you know, sort of when I'm working from home and I go and sit an hour away, actually, I'm changing my view, I'm changing my location, and it's all different. And you learn about things that actually you wouldn't have known about otherwise. Choose a short sit when you first get started, because how do you know if you're going to like this? How do you know if it's going to fit for you? So if you think to yourself, okay, I'm going to fly over wherever it is, I'm going to stay somewhere for 2 months. And when you get there a week in, you've gone, I wish I hadn't have done this. So choose short sits. It's also the way to get that first Trusted House Sitters review, that first review. Once you get your first review, you really are off to the house sitting races, because that's what pet parents are looking for. We also have a Trusted House Sitters forum, and it's a wealth of you know, sort of information. And there's nothing better than getting peer-to-peer sort of information and help and advice. Come to the forum, ask your questions, and they are helpful and friendly. And so many have come and got success through being there. Next slide, please, Erica. And so how do you get selected? It starts with that application message, which is all done through the website. So what do you say? Well, the one thing not to do is actually cut and paste. Read the pet parents listing. When you read it, that will give you the information that you need. Personalize it, name their pets. When I actually apply for a sit, I will write to the pets. I will actually say, "Dear Charlie and Minnie," or whoever they are, "I hear mum and dad are going away and you're going to be left on your own, but you're not going to be left alone because I want to come and look after you." And I do this whole spiel. But then what I do is I also send, excuse me, a little short message to the pet parents afterwards saying, "Excuse me, I'm not batty. I actually wanted to get your attention, and I think I may just have done that." And you know, every single time I've written to the pets, I've got the sit. I'm not saying that everybody has to do that, but that's just me. That's just me. I talk to the animals. And the other thing too is sometimes it's easy to get started. I've known sitters that actually get the first sit they ever apply for, and that's brilliant. Well done. Others take longer, but the one thing never, ever, ever to do is give up. After 13 years of doing this, and with all my reviews and all my references, etc., I still don't get every sit I apply for. I don't, because when a pet parent's choosing their sitter, it's really very personal. They have things that, you know, sort of they have in their mindset what they're looking for. My first sit I got was actually because, and I truly believe this, my heart dog that I lost, Holly, she was a Springer Spaniel. I had 6 of them in my life, and she was my 6th one, but she was my heart dog. My first sit with Trusted House Sitters was 3-month sit in the UK. I was living in Vancouver at the time. And when I first connected with the pet parent, I said, "Okay, you have a dog and a cat." The dog's name was Woody and the cat's name was Denzel. And I said, "You have Woody and Denzel. What kind of dog is Woody?" And he said, "He's a Springer Spaniel." That was it. And that was my first sit, and spent 3. He was a failed explosive sniffer dog. And I asked how he failed. I said, "Did he actually let the building blow up?" And he went, "No, he just would not let go of the things that he was supposed to retrieve." But you find these connections, and so that was my first sit, and it was a Springer Spaniel. That's Fran and Marco that you can see there, brilliant couple, and they are full-time sitters, and they sit and they run their business as they're sitting, and they're really something special. Next slide, please, Erica. Where can you find these house sitting opportunities? Obviously, I work with Trusted House Sitters, so Trusted House Sitters, but there's Nomador, there's My House, House Carers. And then you come to Facebook groups, Craigslist. Is that the best route to go? Not really. One of the reasons, if you found them and you've been successful, then great. However, if you join one of the platforms, you've got the support from the platform. With Trusted House Sitters, we have a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week membership services team. We are set up for emergencies, and we're actually even getting better. We're improving our service. We've just had another influx of great agents join our team, and we're ramping up so that we, that we help our members. So that's one of the things. The other thing too is that with Trusted House Sitters, pet parents get access to a 24/7 veterinary helpline. Now, sitters will have access to that helpline also when they're on the sit. There's another level of support that you won't get if you go through Facebook or you go through Craigslist. So my advice would be, whether it's Trusted House Sitters or not, join a platform and you get more opportunities. And with Trusted House Sitters, every single sit that we have on our site goes through an approval process, and sitters actually go through ID checks, etc., etc. So you've got that security and that support there. Next, please, Erica. And I'm sure out of everybody that's here today, we've got some pet parents. And so Using sitters when you travel it really is the best pet care option. Nothing in your pet's life changes, nothing except the human caregiver. And you know what? Very often we will give them more attention than you do. And that's not to say that you don't give them enough or you don't love them as much. But that's what we're there for. We're there and they are our focus. They have their own 24-hour concierge service. And we do indulge their every whim, only according to what pet parents want. We don't do anything that you don't want to do. This is just that they're looked after to your expectations. And in 2023, we've already taken care of 25,000 pets. And as of today, we have 42,457 pets already in the mix to be cared for in 2022, and we're only in April. So that's how many pets are being cared for in this way. Pet parents also have peace of mind and guilt-free travel. And how many times do you say, I'm not going to go on holiday, I cannot go, I'm not going to leave my pet? Some people don't even go out for the evening because they don't want to leave their pet. So this is the way that pets stay happy at home, and that you can travel more than you ever thought possible and for longer. And also you save money on boarding, but more importantly, the pets get to stay where they have got used to and they're happy, because as we say, rescue pets can't be put back into a boarding environment. The other thing too is we've just gone through 2 years of pandemic, and we've gone through 2 years where pets have been used to having their people at home 100% of the time. Now, as everybody is moving back, there are, we find pet parents are having issues with separation anxiety, etc., etc. And this is that way of helping your pets get through it, and also, making sure that they enjoy your vacation as much as you do, because they're having their own vacation. Next slide, please, Erica. And I think that's it. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for listening. And we know we're going to have a Q&A, but the website is trustedhousesitters.com. Our forum, you'll find at forum at Trusted House Sitters, and you can find me, you can contact me, and our social channels as well. And do come to the social channels. Have a look at our Instagram feed. You will see all of these members with all the pets that they look after. But I want to thank you, and I hope we can welcome you to pet sitting and house sitting very, very soon. Thanks, Erica.
Oh, thank you so much. Also, we definitely don't want to skim this over. We have a 25% discount for everyone that's here today. So we know how valuable this service is, and we know that our mission is to get people traveling cheaper, better, longer, and more. And we also know that everyone loves a discount. So this is one of the biggest discounts you'll find on trustedhousesitters.com at all, is this discount. If you follow this link, it's easy because the code is right in there for you. So it's bit.ly/all capitals THS event, Trusted House Sitters event. So I've already dropped it in the chat, but if you're interested, we would just love to invite you to check it out at a discount. So that's just what I'll say before I stop sharing my screen to everyone. Thank you so, so much, Angela. That was huge. And also, we have so many questions in the chat. I saw so many popping through. We definitely had questions about replays and slides. We'll be sending out the slide deck and a replay of this presentation to everyone that has RSVP'd for this event. So don't worry, if you weren't able to jot down everything, you can rewatch it. You can look at the slides. That's not a problem. And then we had a pretty cute question that I wasn't even considering, but I saw it come through a few times about, everyone on here is a pet lover, and that means that lots of people have their own pets. And so the question came through a few times, like, are there opportunities for people with pets to house sit in places with pets. Is that possible, or have you seen that at all with house sitting? Okay, can you share about that a little?
Absolutely. We do have sitters that sit successfully with their own pet. We've even got sitters that sit successfully with a cat. But dogs. The thing about that is it's really down to the pet parent of the listing or the sit where you want to go to. Bearing in mind also that, you know, it depends on the home, it depends on the location, so many variables. But just think of it from this point of view as well, is if you are a pet parent and you choose to add to your pet family, you will be advised that you need to do this slowly, and you can't just introduce another animal into an animal's own environment. It does need to be done in a really guided, informed way, and gentle way for all of the animals concerned. So to answer your question, yes, it is possible. However, to be perfectly honest, it will limit your sort of opportunities. But it's always worth asking the question, because, you know, you can take your dog on sits. It does happen.
That's good to know. We had a question come through about how far in advance do home and pet owners usually post in your experience? Is it usually like a week before, a month before, 6 months before, a year before? Like, what do you commonly see on Trusted House Sitters?
I think the average is probably about 3.5 weeks. However, there are pet parents who come to the platform at very last minute, and sometimes that's harder to actually fill. And then there'll be pet parents who are now posting for Christmas, because one of the things, if you think about it, when you're considering, a vacation or whatever it is, or wherever you're going, and also bearing in mind, not every pet parent is requiring or wanting to get their pets cared for because they're going on vacation. Something could have happened. There could have been a family emergency. They could need to go into hospital. It could be a last minute thing. And when it is, we help them as much as we can to actually find a sitter. But there are a whole gambit of frames that people come to the site, and actually it's, but as I say, that is the average. And I mean, I've taken sits and I've booked them 3, 4, 5 months in advance.
That's awesome. We just had we have a lot of questions, but I'm just also keeping up with the chat. And aside from being able to bring your pet with you, how common is it that you see people bring their children, whether they're, toddlers or teens, with them?
We have some great family sits and some great successful family sitters. And it's because there's so many that are actually homeschooling now, that they can actually travel and take their children, and animals and children really, really go sort of well together. And so, yes, it is possible. And actually, we have on our blog, we have stories of families that are actually sitting. One family comes to mind. Their name is Svensson, and they took a year off and took their 3 children around the world sitting. So yes, it's possible.
I love that. I mean, it definitely lends itself to this, because I'm thinking, I've never had a house sitter, but I'm just thinking, if I want somebody that's going to really take care of my house, like, a family isn't a bad option, right? Because they take care of their own house, and they're used to like living in a house and living well. So, I think it sort of comes hand in hand. And also, if you're a family and you're leaving, it's a really cool opportunity to give a family like an easy way to go on to go and visit somewhere. I know it's not like a vacation, but to be able to provide that for another family is probably really cool, right?
Yeah, and another thing too is people, lots of our members use sitting when they go to visit family members, when they go to visit family in different countries or different states or different cities, because you don't always want to stay with your family. And it's a way out of not doing the cooking, the cleaning and everything else. You'd say, oh, well, I've got to go back. But yeah, I mean, and if you've got 2 or 3 children or a child or something, and you want to go and visit family and they don't have the room, it's a great way to be near them, but not actually be with them.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. And also, if you're doing it that way, then you can be very flexible with the dates, because you're going to see family that probably live there all the time. So it's probably easier to get a house sit if you're like able to do it at any time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Oriel, I definitely said that wrong. I'm very sorry. Ask the question, how easy is it to be accepted for your first sit? I know that's like a very hard general question, but off the top of your head, how would you answer that?
Okay, first of all, you need to apply for the right sit, and one that matches your experience, matches what it is that is within your capabilities. And if you have never looked after dogs, don't apply for one that has a dog. And actually be sincere when you write that. When you write that application letter, think about, I'm applying for a job, but also be warm, be approachable, and really sort of put in there all of your experiences. And for example, if I'm a pet parent and I'm looking for a sitter, and if I was somebody looking for a babysitter, if I actually looked at somebody that had their own children and could say that they'd had their own children and gone through that experience, that would make me feel that they would be able to manage, my pet's needs or my children's needs. So if you've had those animals, if you've been you've been a pet parent yourself, put that in there. The other thing too is your profile is seen second. The most important thing is your application letter, is and personalizing that and actually sounding sincere. And it's not how or why or where, it's actually the why. That's what pet parents are looking for. Why do you want to come and look after my pet? And yes, as I say, some sitters get the first sit they apply for, others it takes a bit longer. Be persistent.
Yeah. I also want to follow that up, because we have this question, but a way of going above and beyond. I do have a child that I hire babysitters for. And honestly, we hire the same babysitter every time, and we work around her schedule so that we can make sure that our baby is taken care of. And so we have a question about going above and beyond. And I know you mentioned that's how you get asked back again and again and again and again, because like it seems like a lot of the pet and house sitters that I know have been asked back, or not even them, but like if they can't do it, do you know of a friend that's a trusted person that can do that as like a reference, because they want to, because they know and trust that person the first time? So can you elaborate a little bit on the things that would help you go above and beyond and get asked back potentially? I know it's not like part of the deal, but potentially things that could enhance their experience of you.
Absolutely. I mean, don't forget that we have a proposition, that's Trusted Housesitters has a proposition where no money changes hands. So pet sitters aren't getting paid. So to start with, this is a trust-based proposition, a trust-based arrangement. And so going above and beyond doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to go there and rebuild their conservatory or paint their living room. Go above and beyond in building that relationship, make them feel that they are your focus and they're what is important. I've been asked back numerous times, and I have sits that I go back to all of the time. And that is because when I was there, first and foremost, I gave the pet the best care they could have. Have a little story about a pet that I went and sat, and that was the first time I'd gone down to Los Angeles from Vancouver, and I was asked to do this sit. And when I got there, the pet parent, she was really, really nervous. They went off to Israel for 3 weeks. And the next day I got a knock on the door, and it was a neighbor. And the neighbor said, oh, I'm so-and-so. I just wanted to check that you were okay. Eileen asked me to look and see, excuse me, if there might be anything you needed. So I had a chat, et cetera, et cetera. A few years later, I was talking to Eileen, who actually was at my house here in Scotland when they came over to the UK, because we've made that friendship. And I said to her one day, you know, the first time I came and sat for you, I had knocks on the door from your friends and neighbors. I said, did you do it because you were actually checking up on me? And she grinned at me and she went, actually, yes, I was. And I went, I knew that. But the thing was that when those neighbors came, and we don't always encourage that because, you know, there's a privacy issue and sitters need to be trusted. But I didn't mind because they were so sweet. And then I've made friends with them and I've sat for them. And I've gone back to places where I met other pet parents on a walk when I was looking after a dog. I now go round the corner to the next street and I look after theirs. So going above and beyond means doing what is expected of you. And things like, you know, when I leave a sit, I leave a thank you and a welcome home card from the pet. I take pictures, and this is another thing that pet parents love and what we can do for them. But we always ask them how they want it managed. While they're away, they get updates. I mean, you can do that once a day, twice a day, 3 times a day, whatever you want to do and whatever you've agreed with them. I just did a return sit where I was WhatsApping with the pet parent, with the wife, and I was sending her pictures of Casey and saying, hello, Mum, I'm great today. I've just done so-and-so. She opened them. The second day in, she replied to me and she said, Angela, can you please put Bob on the messaging? He's getting upset because he's not getting the messages as well. So I've gone, okay, we'll do that. So we put Bob on the WhatsApp, and I then was sending them just to Bob. And I was going, hello, Dad, I'm having a great day. This is what you do. I mean, you don't have to, but this is what I do. And I know many, many, many do that. And it's because the joy we get from knowing those pets are absolutely cared for. That's what I wanted for my Holly when she was alive. And that's what I got for my Holly when she was alive. So I know that's what pet parents want for their animals, for their family members. And today, more than ever before, we are humanizing pets even more. That human pet companion bond is stronger than it's ever been. I don't believe that's necessarily a change. I just believe that we're now in an environment where we don't get looked on as bonkers if we talk about our pet members as family members. Whereas years ago we may have done, but now we don't. And so it's really that above and beyond is doing what you believe you would love to come home and find, and have somebody walk in and go, do you know what? They were the best pet sitter I've ever had. I want them back.
That's the dream. I had to giggle when you said like paint somebody's room is going above and beyond. Obviously, like that would be the craziest thing to come back and see something built in your house. But you know, anyway, I won't go into that because we only have a few more minutes. So I want to get these out of the way. We had so many good questions. Not all of these questions are going to be able to be answered. I think that this is the right person to ask. Angela, Darlene was asking, Darlene has been doing this for 2 years, and she's asking, is there any way to make a business out of it? And I know that you know lots and lots of people that have been doing this a long time. Can you tell us how some people have figured out how to monetize either this or something aligned with this so that they can continue house sitting?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we have our ethos is that no money changes hands, because when money does change hands, it changes the dynamic. It goes from, you know, you employee to employer. and one thing another. And also it changes, it changes many aspects for a person from a personal perspective. However, yes, start, create your own website, start, putting it there that you run a service and that you charge for that service. There are many, you can also, there are platforms that you can join where you can actually charge. And you can do that as walkers, you can do that, as every other service. So you can charge. It's just that Trusted House Sitters has the policy that, our sitters don't charge, that it's a mutually beneficial exchange. But yes, you can create a business out of this. First and foremost, that business has to come from the heart, and the heart is love of animals. And so, but there are also those pet parents who actually believe that, they do need to pay, and that if they're not paying, that maybe they're not getting the best, but they are. There's both ways of looking at this. But yes, it's very possible to build a business.
That's great. And also I wanted to add, the house sitters that I've seen that are monetizing this lifestyle aren't necessarily monetizing the stays themselves, but maybe they're teaching others how to be great house sitters through an online course, or writing blogs about it, or things like that are like aligned with the lifestyle, but still you're not changing hands with, money is not changing hands with the person and pet that you're watching. I know there are a lot of like cancellation questions and emergency questions coming through, and I always hesitate to answer those because they're usually like very specific to a certain thing. Can you tell us how emergencies and cancellations generally work, and what kind of support you have on your platform for that when that happens?
Yeah, sure. This is where membership services come into play. They are 24/7, and we do actually have an emergency helpline, so that if anything does happen, that you will get that support that you need. One thing that has to be said too is that when you create or you join the platform and you create a profile, that you give emergency contact details on there, so that we are able to actually, help you in that way. But we also have the forum. We do have members come through the forum, but there is help and support, and it's actually dealt with on a one-to-one basis. Cancellations happen, yes, we know. We do have tiered membership, and within those tiers, there is a sick cancellation policy. You go on there and you choose whatever it is. There are T's and C's applied to that, but that's all on the website. So you can actually be, compensated if a cancellation happens. Also, when a cancellation happens and we need to find a last minute sitter for a pet parent, if that's the case, we then help by relisting and sharing across our social media channels. So we do everything that we can, but these things happen. And this is where we go back to the presentation, where have a plan B, because you just never know. And if you plan for the worst, I can promise you it probably is never going to happen.
Yeah. I also feel like that's where the reviews come in and the references, because hopefully what people are saying about you is that you're super duper reliable, very responsible, and that will help mitigate the idea or the chance that things will get canceled, at least like from the surface level, not like at an emergency level. But hopefully that's what people are saying about you. Hopefully that's why you get picked, and hopefully you'll be able to follow through. And if not, that's when the plan B would come into play, right?
Absolutely. But we also have a policy that no cancellation is done without, mitigating circumstances. You don't just cancel on a whim. And if you do, and you do that too often, you will forfeit your membership, because cancellations, they are stressful. They are, sort of really you can imagine that somebody's in a position where they've been cancelled and got to find a replacement. But no, and it, you know, it doesn't happen in situations that people cancel just on a whim. But as I say, it happens.
Yeah. We had a quick question about, oh, I guess Vanessa answered it. For the pet supplies during the stay, that's all covered by the pet owner. So all the food, all the, okay.
Yeah.
Cat litter, everything like that. And then what about, how often do you see people offering their car or bicycle or some sort of transportation and letting you use that while you're there? Scooter, I don't know what people have, but so that if you're in the countryside or somewhere that's not super close to public transit, like how often do you see that?
Oh, when I had my house in Vancouver, we had no public transport near us at all. So my SUV was included in the sit, and it was very, very easy to cover those sitters on the insurance. When I go and sit, if I'm actually sitting somewhere that isn't home and I don't have my own car, I almost 100% have the use of pet parents' cars. I do offer to pay extra. I offer to pay the insurance and cover it. And again, you know, if you are using somebody's car, you treat it the same as you would treat their house, so that when they come back, it's valeted, it's full of gas and everything else. But it is a definite advantage. And for pet parents who are able to do that, it can actually make the difference between getting the sitter of your choice and not. Because, you know, rentals are incredibly expensive. And also, if your dog, for example, loves to go to a particular dog park, but the way to get him there or her there is in a car, and the sitter doesn't have one because for some reason they've come in to do the sit on public transport and they don't have a car, how are they going to get that, you know, your dog to their favorite park? And also with rentals, there are many rental companies, and I think it's probably across the board, who actually have a caveat that you can't take animals into their cars. So, you know, they can't be in rental cars. So it is a definite advantage. It really is. If you are somewhere where there is no public transport and amenities aren't close by. I did a sit where I actually had to use an Uber. I was charged $18 to do a 2-mile journey in an Uber. So yeah, it does get expensive.
Yeah, I'm sure. We just have one more quick question, and I feel like I'll answer this question, but Rachel is saying that she, you know, wants to go and take the leap and start this, and she's asking for ideas for affordable places to stay in between sits. And I will just answer that by saying the reason that we love Trusted House Sitters so much on Nomadic Mat is because it absolutely aligns with our ethos. Like, we are totally about getting people on the road quicker, cheaper, longer, better, more, all that. And we have a ton of resources about ways to find accommodation that aren't the super expensive hotel route. So if you just go on nomadicmat.com, we have lots and lots of resources for how to do that. And so I encourage you to look there. I mean, it's going to be the same sort of idea, unless you have anything to add to that, Angela.
I do actually. And
go ahead.
I do. And actually, because, you know, we are a community and we're a community that supports one another. And through the relationships that are built up in the community, I actually get invited to stay after my sit as a guest. I get invited back when I have pet parents who, when they know I'm coming into town, they say, don't go into a hotel, come and stay with it. Now, if you're comfortable with that, great. It's not for everybody, but I like doing that. And so these relationships, and also they will turn around and say, do you know what? I know of somebody who's got something, or it's called networking. And you network so well that actually the solution suddenly drops in your lap and you weren't even looking for it.
Makes sense. Totally makes sense. I didn't even think about that. Great question, Rachel. And then one more question that I feel like would be a good one to answer. Is it okay to do a selfie and then post it on your social media with the pet or is that a no-no?
If you are sharing anything from a sit that you're on, you need to ask the pet parent's permission, because even though it's your property, you've taken the photograph, for some reason that pet parent may not want their pet on the social media for any reason. So that's something that you agree and you talk about before you actually, when the sit is happening. All of those things, you have to tick all these boxes. And you just ask, can I share them on my social? And 9 times out of every 10, they're flattered that you actually want to show pictures of their pets. But you have to ask that question, because it could be an animal that they really don't want put on social media. So yeah, just ask.
That makes sense. Also, if Sharon is still here, Sharon Williams is starting her house sitting journey next week. So I would just love to give her a little round of applause as a group. That's very exciting. I want to reiterate before we close out, sorry, we're running a few minutes late, that we do have this incredible discount, 25% off. We'll send it to you in an email, but just to help you sort of start your journey with house sitting. And I hope that the people that were writing in at the very beginning that were saying they were just interested or they've signed up, but they haven't house sat yet, I hope that what Angela said to you today has reinvigorated, re-inspired, and just will get you onto, your house sitting journey even quicker. I feel like everyone that I've ever talked to that has house sat has done it like thinking this could be cool, and then has been like, this is the most incredible experience because it's so unique and so wonderful. And they just decide, wow, this is how I want to travel from now on. I feel like the house sitters I know do it all the time. And so I really encourage you to start that journey as soon as possible. And I'm really glad that we were able to have Angela on today to share with all of us. And I really appreciate you all for showing up. If you want to copy the chat thread, you can download it with the 3 dots at the bottom of the chat. If you're not able to do that, just type that into the chat and I will make sure you get that, Sharon. Oh, Sharon, congratulations. And
Erica,
Angela, would you like to say anything else before we go?
Erica, can I just ask Sharon where she's actually going to sit? Yeah. And also, we have meetups happening all over the world. And so if you are on a sit or you're going for a first one, or it doesn't matter whether it's worst or not, check out our forum, because the meetups are actually listed on there and you could be meeting some fellow sitters. There's one happening this weekend in Louisiana at the Jazz Fest. There's one happening there. That's this weekend. So yeah, and then we've got another one in San Diego. We've got one in London. So just check out the forum. And yeah, New Orleans this weekend.
Perfect. That is really great because, as you may know, the TNN chapter events are sunsetting. So if you do decide to be a house sitter and become part of this community, you'll now have people to meet up with still. So that's pretty wonderful. Can you just share really quickly where people can get information if they still have questions, Angela?
Yeah, they can come to Trusted House Sitters. There's a community email, or they can actually email or come through the forum and they can ask their questions there, or they can actually just contact me directly. Awesome.
All right. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you everyone for showing up and listening and asking some really, really great questions. I know we didn't get to everything, and we still ran over time. So if you have more questions, feel free to reach out, and thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks. Bye. Thanks, everybody. Stay safe.